to all present in this assembly, welcome and greetings. I consider it a very high personal honor to stand before you all. I start with a little introduction about myself. I'm a Tamil-born British citizen. I left Sri Lanka when I was 10 and to Britain with my family, and a British citizen at the moment, and I've graduated as a biomedical scientist in 2007. After graduating, I wanted to take a year out, and I decided to go back to Sri Lanka since I haven't been since 1994. In 2008 February, I went to Sri Lanka to visit my relatives back in north in Valley. Initially I went there for a 6-month holiday. When I went to Sri Lanka, I didn't have any knowledge of the, not much about the war and the effect of the war in Sri Lanka. As soon as I went into Valley, I felt I belonged there. Then I felt that was my identity, and I was happy and safe in Valley. During the years in 2008, I was in a place called Vislamadu, and only in 2008 December I realized that Kulachi displacement, which brought the attention that the war is nearby and the effect of war. And during that time, about 2008 to 2009, I've displaced 8 times in Sri Lanka with my family, and witnessed all the attacks. Mainly, I'm here to speak as a victim as well as a witness to the 30 years civil war. I worked in the hospital, in the government hospital with Dr. Sanwaraja, and during the months April to May 2008. Few things that I've gone through while I was in worked in the hospitals was that one thing is that the hospitals during the time just that last April to May, the hospital was attacked 4 times, and all the 4 times I was present in the hospital, and I experienced the damage of the attack. One thing I can't still understand is that in a civil war within a country, I mean, it's clearly marked as a civilian's hospital. I still don't understand why the hospitals has to be attacked, and knowing that it was a hospital. There's certain things that I noticed while I was in the hospital was a shortage of medication, which lead to more deaths. There are few incidents which I wanted to talk about is when I have to assist Dr. Sanwaraja to do an amputation of a 6-year-old boy without even giving local anesthetic. And I'm a biomedical scientist myself, and I've worked in Britain in hospitals, and I never ever in my life thought that you can amputate somebody, a 6-year-old boy's leg and arm without even giving local anesthetic. And it's just 1 or 2 examples, but there were many other cases where we have to treat patients without medications, without enough supplies. There's another incident when the last time the hospital was attacked on the 12th of May, when a 3 months baby was into pieces in that attack. And I hear in news, and also the speakers, some of them talked about how the Sri Lankan government's act was a humanitarian act. I still think, from my knowledge and experience, that it was a well-planned military act forcing people to move into the no-fly zones areas and show them which actually caused more deaths. And also, another thing was that I think it was in 2008, November sometimes, when the Sri Lankan government specifically asked all the foreign organizations to leave Vani. I think, to my knowledge and the experience I've gone through in Sri Lanka, that was the biggest mistake made by the UN to leave Vani, knowing that it would make more damage to the civilian state. I'm not saying that if UN had stayed in Vani, it would have stopped the war, but it would have made the number of deaths low. After May, I was in the hospital until the 13th of May. I left Vani on the 16th of May into the IDP camps. And the other thing was that people still had that trust in the international community, and also especially in UN, that after they left Vani, they were helped outside, and which another disappointment for most of the Tamil civilians. And then I spent 3.5 months in the IDP camp. The British government has to go through a long process to get me out of the camp, and it's only after when my father decided to come to Sri Lanka I was released in September 2009. And after 2009, after coming into Britain, for 2 years I was working with the Tamil community, and far as to my knowledge, I think it's UN has failed to do what they should have been done, and that to my knowledge, I feel that in the process of eliminating the LTT, the international community and the UN has intentionally let the Tamil civilian die. And this is something would never be forgiven in Tamil's history. The war has caused more damage to myself as well as all the Tamil civilians who were in there and the victims. Going back 2 years, I've gone through so much in Vani during the war as well as in the IDP camps. Seeing so many people crying out to you. I mean, I'm not a doctor, I am a biomedical scientist, but so many people working in a hospital, so many people with wounds coming up to you, begging you, kneeling down, touching your feet, begging you to save them. And as a medical staff, with all the voluntary other medical staff, as well as the chief doctors, we were helpless. And that is something which still, I have the guilt that there were so many people who had been saved if we had the medication, if we had the supply of medications. And as a medical profession, I still feel that I have done something wrong in saving those people. And it's something that I want to raise out, that to the UN and to the international community, please do something, act now, before it's too late. And there are still people back home in Sri Lanka still have the trust that the international community and the UN will do something, and I think as a diaspora community as well, they still have the trust. Please, act now. Thank you.
Well, I think we'll all be very grateful to